So how do you improve the grass-fed genetics for St. Croix sheep? St. Croix are one of the few sheep breeds that are really meant to be grass-fed. They grow slower than most of the breeds because they really haven't been selected for how well they do on grain. Almost every sheep breed, every commercial sheep breed, is fed as much grain as they can eat because they want to fatten these animals up as fast as they can because that's what makes the money. And so they're selecting these animals for reproduction, the very best of them to reproduce based on how well they do on grain and not on how well they do on grass. Because these grain-fed animals are all going to be sold down at the sale barn, and it really matters more about how they look on the outside, how fat they are. Because if they're fatter, they're going to have a higher rating. They're going to be considered a prime animal, while if they're a little bit skinnier, they're going to be a good or choice animal and bring less money. And so what they're being graded on down at the USDA grading scale is not how healthy they are, it's how fat they are. And so this grading system is telling us that an obviously overweight sheep like this one that has tons of fat all over it, that's the best sheep that you could have out there. Well, that's obviously not true. It's like saying a very overweight human is the healthiest human. Now, this sheep was fattened up on grain of dubious quality. It could have any type of grain, and maybe even growth hormones has made this sheep grow so fat. But if you eat this fat sheep, then you're also being exposed to whatever grain or chemicals this sheep ate. Because if you are what you eat, then you are what it ate as well. And so whatever types of grains or byproducts they put in to make this sheep fat, it's probably going to make you fat too. That's why grass-fed St. Croix sheep are such a blessing, such a real find to have today, because almost every other sheep breed has been optimized for growing on grain, while St. Croix has been left as a slow-growing food source that's really optimized for grass-fed operations. So to improve their grass-fed genetics, you don't want to feed them any grain at all. You want them entirely on grass. Otherwise, that will cover up the unthrifty animal. You want to find these unthrifty animals that can't make it on grass alone, and that's the ones you want to cull. So late summer and early fall, that's a great time to start culling out the unthrifty. You go through your entire herd, your entire flock, and you look for any animal that's got any kind of a stress on it or it's a little bit skinny. This animal in the foreground is a little bit skinnier than the rest, and I think he's going to get culled. And by getting rid of the unthrifty animal on grass, you're getting rid of their genetics. You're getting rid of the bad genetics, and you're keeping just the fattest ones. Now, there's one or two others I can see in that video. There's one out there that's a little bit skinnier. She could be an older mama. I might keep her. But mostly, when I've got to take them to the processor for myself to put them in my own freezer, I'm looking for all the skinny ones. And I take them to the processor. I know they think, goodness, is that the best you can do? No, I'm doing great by taking all the skinny ones because I can't really sell them to anybody. But I can eat them, and they're not going to give me any money down at the sale barn for them. So they taste great. They taste great. There might be a little bit less meat on them, but they do taste good. And as time goes on, each year that you do this, you're going to see your flock is going to improve. Every time you do this and take the time to cull out all the weak, all the sick, all the ones that have scours or have any kind of problem or just skinny or just unthrifty. And this one right in the foreground here, he's a little bit on the unthrifty side, so he's going to get culled. You can see him standing up, how much skinnier he is. And of course, he's got a dirty bottom, so he's got to go somewhere. I think part of that is coccidia. It could just be anything. But regardless, he didn't come out. He didn't have the same kind of resistance to disease as the other ones did. So that one's going to the processor. That one's going to go in my freezer. And I always cull from the bottom up. I don't try and take the very top animal or the best animal and reproduce that. Really, you want to cull the weak out of there because even a really good animal could have a lot of bad recessive genes. There's a genotype and a phenotype. The phenotype is what's being expressed. The genotype is all the genetic information. Any animal that looks great, he could have a lot of bad recessive genes that you just can't see, so you're better off to go through and cull all the bad ones out of your flock than you are to try and take a few good ones and try and emphasize that one trait. And you want to keep all the sheep that are good and fat on hay too. The ones that do well on hay and like hay and do well with that, you want to keep those in your flock as well. These look just great. They've got plenty of a good size to them. They're not overweight. They're just good and healthy looking sheep. And really, even in the winter, when there's just nothing but a few hay bales to eat, a good mama should be nice and fat, even though she's nursing her babies. I have one ewe that every year she would get triplets in the winter, and she always looked skinny. And I kind of gave her a pass because she always produced triplets. And I thought, well, it's just a lot on her. But really, she wasn't thrifty. She wasn't as thrifty as she was. And so I finally called her later, but I started noticing that her offspring were also not as thrifty. And so you really can't give them a pass or say that, well, just because they're nursing lambs in the winter, you should let the ones that aren't quite as fat in there. They should look healthy all year long, even though they're nursing. And so this little ram in the foreground, he might have to go. He's a little bit on the thin side. We'll see if he picks up, because I don't want his genetics in there either. So that'd be one I would look to take to the processor. He's just a little bit smaller than the rest. But I keep the others. I've got some other rams that look a lot better, and that's the way you cull them out. You improve the genetics of your grass-fed sheep operation by relentlessly culling those that are unthrifty. Well, I hope you appreciate the video. Thanks.